just say, hey, whatever happens, happens. I can't do that. We have to confront problems. As a leader, you have to confront problems. There's never been a great leader that would have done that.
All right, that was the president speaking out twice. He did go on one ride to give a thumbs up to supporters outside of Walter Reed over the weekend. 800-941-SEAN. You want to be a part of the program. We'll get to your calls in the bottom half hour of the program. It is 29 days. You are the ultimate jury. Here to weigh in on the advancement of the therapeutics and the advancement of the vaccine. Numerous now trials, final stage human trials going on for a vaccine, and they continue. Dr. Harvey Risch is with us, Yale epidemiology professor. Dr. George Fareed back with us too, Harvard Medical School. And he has, by the way, along with other doctors, treated over 2,000 COVID-19 patients. He does believe in hydroxychloroquine as one of the therapeutics that can be used. Welcome both of you back to the program. I guess the one that we're now hearing the most about that the president used from early on is Regeneron. Dr. Risch, what do you think of Regeneron in terms of a new therapeutic that's showing pretty promising results?
I think it's still experimental, actually, and promise is good, but we really need to have trials of it in people on larger scale to know exactly what it's likely to do and what its side effects are. There are people who have adverse reactions to it, and they might not be life-threatening, but they require immediate care, and it's hard to predict when that happens, so you have to have everything worked out in order to use a medication like that. But the important thing about all this is that he got care quickly and aggressively, and that's what we've been saying for the longest time, that you can't just let people fester at home with nothing for 2 weeks and go to the hospital. You have to be able to treat people aggressively and quickly.
I agree with all of that. It's hard for some to even mention hydroxychloroquine at this point. Are you in agreement with that, or do you believe that it has shown to be an effective early treatment, as some other studies, some numerous studies have shown?
No, it is an effective early treatment, but it's not the only treatment. The point
Remdesivir, which is the president is taking a run of now. How do you feel about both of them?
I think that he got a cocktail of things that has worked for him, and that included the vitamin D, it included zinc, it included whatever it was that got the zinc into his cells to have been effective. Hydroxychloroquine is an inexpensive thing that can work in a population, but when you're talking about the president of a country where no expense is spared, and you can do it in the hospital, you want to be open to the world, so to speak, for anything that can work. And that's what he got, but it's not generalizable to your everyday person in the population who needs to be treated quickly outside the hospital.
And let's talk to you, Dr. Fareed. You've dealt with a lot of patients that have COVID-19. You're watching what the president, this cocktails, as we call it, of varying therapeutics, taking them very early in the process. That is shown to be very critical to get in there early. Your thoughts on Regeneron, your thoughts on hydroxychloroquine with zinc and azithromycin, and now we're using more of these inhaler steroids on top of remdesivir. I mean, a lot more options than we had in the beginning of this.
Thank you very much, Sean. I agree fully with Dr. Risch and what he stated, in that I am an advocate of hydroxychloroquine. I've fought it here with a great colleague of mine, Dr. Brian Tyson, at his urgent care clinic. And we set up a model for the fever clinics that are throughout Saudi Arabia and have allowed them to overcome the pandemic with hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and the other supportive medications. What we did in this program here in the Imperial Valley, which was the epicenter for the pandemic of California in June and July, is through Dr. Tyson's keen approach of bringing in patients in an orderly way, getting them screened, getting chest x-rays, getting all the history that would be appropriate to allow them to take hydroxychloroquine, which is very safe. So we had no fatalities in that center, and in my own clinic 300 patients who did very well with it. But it's basically
But it's when
Dr.
taken
Risch,
early. That seems to be critical.
No, exactly. It has a window, and it lowers viral load. It's like the antibody cocktail that President Trump received, which helped lower the viral load, we presume. But we could have given hydroxychloroquine and convalescent plasma, for that matter, at that early period. With regard to the remdesivir, it may or may not be as effective as hydroxychloroquine, quite frankly. But and studies are coming out that suggest that it isn't such a great effective agent at different stages of COVID-19. But I think President Trump received very good early treatment, as Dr. Risch pointed out, and I just want to have Dr. Fauci and others look at a series of questions that we hope Congress will send to him that addresses why we haven't had the ability to use, and doctors haven't known that hydroxychloroquine is a very safe and good option. We could have started this in March and had thousands and thousands of people saved. So I'm never going to change my opinion on that. But that's something my colleagues Don Pompan, a great doctor, and Michael Jacobs from Florida, an extremely good doctor, composed these 20 questions that hopefully Congress will address to the FDA and particularly Dr. Fauci to get answers as to allowing us to encourage doctors to use an early treatment that is practical, that's $150 as opposed to thousands and thousands for the treatment that President Trump received. So we have to be flexible, and we have to use what is safe and what is effective in lowering the viral load, and that's what our cocktail does.
Has anybody, I've not gotten a satisfactory answer about any prophylactic qualities or properties that, for example, hydroxychloroquine had. I mean, early on, there was talk about the use of hydroxychloroquine in rheumatoid arthritis patients or those with lupus or as an anti-malarial, and that there were far fewer incidences of people contracting COVID-19. Did we ever get an answer on that? Dr. Risch, we'll start with you.
The answer to that actually is quite recently, yes. And that was shown in a meta-analysis that's on the preprint server medRxiv by the last author is Miguel Hernan. And what they did is they put together studies, the randomized controlled trials that looked only at use in either prevention as a whole before exposure or very recent use right after exposure to prevent the generation of symptoms. And they showed a statistically significant benefit of using hydroxychloroquine in those two circumstances. So the answer to that, as we know now, is yes. It cements what the four studies that are in India that show that after enough of a dose of hydroxychloroquine has built up over 5 to 6 weeks, that it also prevents it reduces the susceptibility to getting symptomatic COVID disease.
In other words, so it is, when you say built up over 5 to 6 weeks, so you would need to be taking it 5 to 6 weeks for it to build up, I guess,